Okay, Keith, here we go. Now is as good a time as any to get into this. These are always fun because these movements are so, oh, it's sort of a different philosophy of how to build a quartz movement. I'll show you more about it. But anyway, this is where we're starting. Interesting blue on this, as opposed to Sabrina's model, which has just pure black. Not sure what's up with the blue. Very interesting. But we're going to get it together, get yours cleaned up, get it rolling. The only thing I'm worried about right now is you've got a little bit of a bleed right here. Not sure what's up with that. I mean, I do have replacement LCD units, I believe. Wait, you got something over there too, look. Well, I guess let's test this thing and see what we're looking at first. How about that? Okay. Okay, definitely alive. It's not, the train isn't moving, but it's trying to. You can see that the sweep hand is pulsing. So that's good. That means everything's intact. It just means that this is all glued up and it's gonna be fine. That was a figment of my imagination. There's nothing there. And that looks fine as well. So, looking at a cleaning, obviously. I did have the back off of this, so this is what the H556 movement looks like. The really only real differences between there's the 556, 557, 558. Only real differences between the 556 and the 558 are, well, let's see, there's this plastic block that's in the middle. The whole movement is built on this thing. It's called a spacer block. And it's sort of this fibrous resin stuff. On the 558, it's got a little couple protrusions here which help protect the stem over here, and also the plastic post that the alarm spring sits on is taller. Other than that, they're pretty much the same. The 557s are square, or rectangular rather, and so the 556 and 558s a lot of them will go back and forth, but like 557s, no, not really. I mean, like the internal parts, like train and stuff like that. But anyway, this is when Seiko really started getting to the point of doing this sort of they have these different magnetic shields, these different layers of metal that snap on top of one or the other and sort of screw together, much more interdependent, interlinked than a 754X movement, which is really bolted together. This thing is much more lightly built, but it's still an all metal train, still jeweled. We got to go from there. Lots of salt on this one. Lots of salt. That should be real fun to clean up. Okay, let's move ahead. So here's the front side of the movement. You can really see here the core of what is an H55X. This metal bit here, this is the sort of the self-contained train. And so this whole bit pops out. This black thing, that's the movement spacer that this slots into. And you can see the pinions and everything. There's the single jewel there, and there's the coil, and there's the light. And so, I mean, this generally looks okay. The only thing is we do have a bleed here. Now, it's 6 1/2 dozen the other. Typically, when I see this kind of thing, it's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. But the LCD panel does work. So I don't know about replacing this. I guess I will look through my stuff and see if I have a good replacement screen, and then talk to you about whether or not you're going to want me to replace that. I don't, maybe this will be perfectly fine. Maybe it will stay here perfectly fine forever, but maybe it won't. I don't know. It's an LCD bleed, and it's not something that can be fixed, and it's just one of those deals. Okay, moving forward. So moving on a little bit, I just thought I'd show you this. These are the different plates that go on here. This is the first plate goes on there, and then the second one flips over here. It's kept in place more or less with 3 screws and that little tab business right there at the end. This is my handy dandy H55X movement holder, courtesy of Adrian at Vintage Time Australia. He is the one that created these. So if you go to vintagetimeaustralia.com or you talk to Adrian and you're doing some work, it's always nice to have a little tool like this. Anyway, here's the back side of the circuit. You can kind of see how the things work. These are just marvels of marvels of printing. And they're slightly flexible. They're not really delicate, but I have to be careful always when I get these off, because there's a couple places where the screw posts extend through this, and you just want to make sure you're not flexing this or bending this at all. So you can see all the different things going on. There's your CMOS, and you can see all the circuit lines coming into and out of it, running all the different pieces. This is the variable trimmer for this one. It's not quite, it's nowhere near as fine as the 754X's, but it has a good amount of variability. Not a ton, but some. Okay. We're starting to get down. You can see the circuit here. This is the other side of the circuit. And the way that the connectors that these have are these little sort of rubber diddlies that have the conductive stripes built into them, and they communicate with this, the lines in the LCD panel. They're almost like little lines of circuitry that electricity can run across. I haven't taken this apart yet, because I want to be able to look at that really closely, but that's what that looks like. And it's not, they don't normally stick together. Well, they do normally stick together like this, but that, I think, is a side effect. It's not an intended way to go. You can see there's the train on this side. These are all the things that are important. Battery connector. This little bit here, this is the selector. When you turn the crown one way or the other, and it goes click, 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 to change the settings. It's this thing going back and forth, connecting to these posts right here that communicate different things. There's the fine adjust. There's your coil. And there's the train. We're getting down there. Okay. Okay, so here we are. This is the true heart of the movement, and this is going to come apart here in just a second, but you can see kind of how tightly built these are. Look at all those layers in there. Pretty neat. It looks to be in pretty good shape, though I do see some kind of grease or oil on this block. You can see it right over here. So I'll get that cleaned up. Yeah, these things, battery acid does not like these at all, and it's one of the biggest enemies of any H558 is the battery, and because when those leak, this material just sort of denatures, and the black sort of resin just goes away, leaving the fibers that are inside. It just turns into this just gray crumbling mess. So it's nice that this one never had a leak. Okay, onward and upward. So moving along, I've got the crystal out. These are real interesting to get out because these little chapter ring diddly things that are in here, very, very easy to break. And so in order to get these out, because in these, the Arnie's, it has a snap down ring like a 6309 diver or whatever. But this, it has a nylon ring, and these can, especially after a long time, get really seized in there, and you don't want to put a ton of pressure on there because it can push through and it can snap this little bar. So what I actually had to do is I had to take, I made this tool a long time ago, and this nylon die fits right in that hole right there. And so I can just take that and flip this whole thing upside down in a special wooden block I have with a teeny tiny little mallet, and I just ever so slightly just tip, 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 tap, tap, tap until this comes out, drops out. Your rotating ring gasket is just like old gross spaghetti. You just snap it. So yuck. Okay, moving forward. Okay, well, technically this is day 2, technically. But really, I didn't work over the weekend, so it's really day 5. I did check it a little bit over the weekend. Everything is working just fine. It should be. I have been attempting to find a replacement LCD screen. I have a few, and I've been looking through them, but none of them are alive. I'm not like fully alive. And so I've gone through the movement several times to try to do testing on those, to try to get them going. The best one I had looked great, but segments of it are dead. I cannot make it run properly. So we're just going to have to live with this bleed, and that's the way that it is. So these things are just like, to work on these is like always not problematic. That's not the word, but they are challenging. Because these pieces, they don't, unlike a dive watch, they don't, or a mechanical movement, they don't just bolt together. These things are just like nested layers of things, and they kind of snap together. And if something isn't exactly right, like you have to like put everything in the right place, and then you snap it together, and hopefully everything stays put. But doing things like the alarm spring is held on only by one teeny little tip sticking out there. It's ridiculous. So anyway, this is pretty much done. I'm going to assemble now your case. Here are your buttons. They're the single seal variety. Some of the later Arnie's were double seals, but this one, of course, was not rated for deep depth. There's that. And here is your rotating ring with that nice blue cast on it. So we're moving ahead. I'm going to start dealing with timing on this one while I'm working on this, and we'll just keep going forward. So here we are at the fabulous QT99 tester. We've got the movement, I have the movement roughly cased in here. I haven't actually built the case. I've only put in the seals now, and I just wanted to do a rough first testing. Timing. So we've got an adjuster here. It's not as variable as a 754-9 or anything similar to that. You have a range that you can adjust in, but it's nowhere near as fine. It's certainly better than a lot of the other things that come along, but this one is just not quite so hot. Let's see what's going on here. Hold on just 1 second. Just testing out something. Hang on. That's what, let's see what we got going on here. Oh, would you stop it? Come on. This thing, one thing is, this thing is pretty persnickety. So hang on just one second. Trying to get a clear signal here. See, it's either not there or it's there too much. Hang on just one sec. Come on. Okay, hang on. I'm just going to fiddle with this adjustment. And we're back. Let's see what we got going on. So, okay, so I've been dropping it a little bit here. Let's drop it a wee bit more. And that is turning counterclockwise. That's how we do that. Like I said, this one is nowhere near as, like, it's, they can get pretty tight, but it's really tough to get this one to drop in as tight as we'd like. Come on. Hang on just one second. Let's see how that does. Let's see if that holds. I'd be surprised if it did. I think that's anomalous. Yeah, I thought so. See, because we've got this on gate 10, so every 10 clicks it averages. But it's got to be in variables for these movements. It's got to be in variables of 10. 21. Let's see here what we've got. 18. Definitely more variability on these. Nowhere near as, I mean, it's kind of an unfair comparison to gosh darn it, it's kind of an unfair comparison to compare them to the 7549s, considering they were so high end, relatively speaking. Gosh darn it. I want to be able to see this. Hang on just one second. This is sort of a challenge trying to do this. Okay, let's try that again. I mean, it's still 0.3 of a second per day. That's not bad. 8/100ths of a second per day. I'd be surprised if that holds. Now, I mean, these numbers seem like they're varying a lot, but again, these are in 10ths and 100ths of a second per day. I mean, that's pretty tight. I can see that we're on the positive side of things. It'd be nice if I could average it so that it's climbing a little above and a little below, a little above and a little below. But let's adjust it again. Let's pull it down just a hair more. I don't have much more room on it, but let's see what we can do. -15. And let's see if we pop above. 1/100th of a second per day. Now, if it would hold that, whew, that'd be awesome. -9. See, because if you get an average where it's like it's hitting a little below and hitting a little above, it'll come out in the wash. -17. Okay, I want to crank it up just a hair. Just a hair. Okay, I moved that so little I don't even know that I moved it. Let's see what it says. +23. I really do get spoiled working the 7549s because you can dial them in so tight. I must have moved it more than I thought. definitely did. Okay, hang on just 1 second. Let's see if I can do this. I just want this to stay firm, like have an average point, a middle point where it's going to give us a reasonable, like tiny gain per day. Try that again. And there was a tiny amount of movement there. Let's see what the average comes out to. And again, this isn't the first time. I'm going to finish casing this up, and I'll go through and do it again. Okay, negative 7/100ths of a second per day. Let's see if we pop up above just a hair. Negative 16. Boy, that is one thing about these adjusters, because they're not super fine increments, and so it'll just kind of jump. Positive 44? Of course, it is only 0.4 of a second per day. Okay, it must be because I was fiddling with it. Okay, we're just coasting just under. And sometimes with these, you take what you can get. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to break off, and I'm going to finish casing this, and we'll see what the numbers look like after I'm done doing that. But that's not bad. 7/100ths of a second per day. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so I've cased it up, I've assembled it, and I've done a lot of adjusting on it. This is the tightest position that I've been able to get. It's losing slightly, but very, very consistently, a few hundredths of a second per day, and that's exquisitely accurate for one of these. So I'm happy with that, and it seems to sort of float in this position. But again, that's even here. That looks excessive. That's only 1/10 of a second per day. I mean, that's extremely accurate. So it's chugging along just fine. The last thing I'm doing is I've got to chase down a gremlin for the alarm. The alarm is not sounding, so I need to look at that again and make sure that that's connected properly. That's the last check I really need to do, and everything else is done. The watch is assembled, and that's the only thing that's just not doing it for me. So as it always is with these Arnies, you've got to go back in and check stuff repeatedly. It's rare that I will bolt an Arnie together, or any H556 movement. It's rare that I will bolt one together and it will just be right. You usually have to go back in a few times to check stuff, because it's really lightly built. Okay, but I think in terms of accuracy, that's pretty good. Okay. All right, well, there we are. Okay, first off, the one thing, I guess do you want to start with the good news or the less than perfect news? Let's get the less than perfect news out of the way, because then we can talk about all the great things. Your circuit, the portion of your circuit that does your alarm is not operational. It is defective. The circuits on these have a bunch of different components to them. Actually, I can show you. Okay, this here is an battery acid damaged H558 or H556 circuit. The parts that are important for the alarm are this resistor. Your resistor's good. This little diddly right here on yours is not functional. Unfortunately, it's just the way that it is. I went through everything. I checked all your physical components. Like this is the little This little bit sits right on here and connects that way, and on top of it sits the alarm spring itself, which is right here, if I can grab it. There's the little alarm spring. It goes right through this oblong hole right there. But the testing it with the electrical tester, the output of your circuit is just bad. Your resistor's fine, but the circuit itself is simply not functional. It's not a function of the electric disc. It's not any of these parts here. It is an issue with the circuit itself. So, I mean, barring finding a new circuit, we are where we are. And I don't have a new circuit. I don't even have a good old circuit. So it is what it is. So I'm sorry for that bad news. But the good news, everything is clean. Everything is clean. It's got all new seals. You've even got a new gray spacer tube in here, and those are pretty hard to find, but I had one. Your rotating ring turns smoothly as it should. All of the other bits definitely work. Let's put that back in here. So we can, that was the time, that's the alarm, that's the local time, there's the chronograph, and that should reset to 0. There we go. Go back here. So we can now set today is the Tuesday the 23rd. So we pull out one thing and we turn clockwise. We're going to go to 7:23. Okay. We turn the other way. We can tell what day it is. Today's Tuesday. And there's that. So now we go here. And it says it's AM. It is not AM. It is 4:59. This is gonna be a rough time set, okay? So I will be able to redo this for you. So we need to go forward into the PM. There's the PM. We'll just call it 5 o'clock on the nose. How about that? Or no, 4:59. How about that? Yeah, because that clock's a little fast anyway. We'll call that good. So then all I'm going to need to do then is just synchronize the hand times. Nose, we're going to be going 30 seconds past 5, just for fun. I don't normally do it like this. Normally I set everything to 0, but what the heck. Boy, I tell you, it's amazing. These H movements, they are just wacky. They take so many iterations, so much work to kind of go through back and forth to get everything going. Because it'd be so nice if you could just screw it together and have it work, but it just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't do it. Anyway, but there it is. All new seals. Everything is clean. Everything's the way that it ought to be. All your original loom. And that's really about it. If we ever, for some reason, find a new old stock circuit somewhere, might be a good idea to pick up. But they are rare. Boy, they are rare. And really, honestly, this is, we're doing pretty well. Okay, well, I apologize. I wasn't able to get it to 100% for you, but without a replacement circuit, we are where we are. We are where we are. Okay, I thank you so very much.